Wow!
There you go, buddy. There you go. And we're on. We're back again. There we go.
Yes. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I am Chris Shem, the Titletown Griller, and we have my main man, Mel the Mullet, Dark Side of the Grill. Soak it in all of its glory. How are you today, my friend?
I'm fantastic, brother. It's Tuesday. Everything's right in the world. We're doing good things. We're doing good things here. Everything's.
I got to tell you, I'm just happy that you're still upright after that big 40th birthday celebration this past weekend. We talked a little bit yesterday. I was just very happy to hear that you're still alive and not in jail.
Well, here's the thing. Anytime I open with a here's the thing, it comes close, right? So,
right.
We have a steakhouse in West Edmonton Mall. That's where we ended up going, was West Edmonton Mall, because you can get a lot of stuff real close, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the hotels have hot tubs and like beds everywhere and like pull-out couches and big couches. It was fantastic. There was 3 TVs in our room. Like, it was, right, hook you right up to Bluetooth, and then you're listening to the new Rob Zombie album like right now. It was awesome. But I'm sitting in a hot tub surrounded by mirrors on the ceiling, right? Pink champagne is on ice. I'm like, this is weird. This is fantastic, right? Everything was great, except for we went to a steakhouse.
Okay.
And it was amazing. I was so happy to be out in this steakhouse, but I instantly realized, like, I've been kind of locked down for about a year.
Right.
I haven't really been going out other than groceries and stuff, and your average. I got the weird feeling like everyone I saw had kind of been there the entire year. And it was me that was like peeping outside of the cave going like, is this, right. And everyone else was like, where you been, dude? Like, so on Bourbon Street, I don't know if you're familiar with West Edmonton Mall at all, but it was at one time the largest mall in Canada. It's very fantastic here in Edmonton. They have a Bourbon Street, which is all just bars all the way down.
Like New Orleans, Bourbon Street.
Exactly. So it's done up in that style. It's even got the jesters and stuff. It's pretty cool.
French Quarter and whatnot.
Exactly. So on this street, there is now a bar, Five and Dive. It's a dive bar. Spray painted walls everywhere. They're playing fantastic music. There's old band posters from when I was like a teenager, SNFU, and all kinds of like really weird, neat things. And I said to the waitress, I'm like, when did you guys open? I've never seen you before. She's like, oh, like a year ago. I was like, well, how did you stay open? She's like, we've been busy the whole time. So here I am with like skip the dishes, cold hamburgers, whatever, right? It's yeah. And I think there's been a lot of people that have just been out living.
Yeah, it's like one of those weird movies or like a TV show where you've been in a coma and you wake up and it's a year later for you, but everybody else has been like nothing else.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like in Encino Man, I think that's kind of the vibe
Oh, sure, yeah.
It was just so weird. And I was like, I have a family, right? I'm happy to be responsible. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. There was a time in my evening where I sort of felt like a chump a bit because these people were all out just giving her full. And I was like, I'm going to give it like 10% because, right? But then you look around and everyone's like nothing's even happening. It was just crazy. It was like you still wear your masks when you're walking around in the mall.
Right.
But then you take them off and you sit down at your table and like it's table. It's, you know what I mean? No one's wearing masks because you're all in a restaurant. It's
weird since like I haven't been out to eat in the past year. In fact, this past Thursday was kind of like the 1 year anniversary for me of realizing, okay, I mean, yes, we knew it was coming, but it was like shit's real. Thursday was it. Yeah, and March is huge for me and my college buddies because of the NCAA basketball tournament. That's and that Thursday is the Thursday of the conference tournaments. I remember being in my office. I'm all excited. hope no one from work is here, but I had my iPad there because I was streaming some of the games, and all of a sudden I remember, like, okay, Duke pulled out of their tournament. All of a sudden the Big Ten they started a game, and I think they canceled it at halftime. Where'd you find that? We'll get into that too. But anyways, all these conference tournaments were getting canceled, teams were getting pulled off, and I'm like, oh, that's when everything was, kind of hit the fan. And that was the 1 year anniversary this past Thursday. And
yeah,
crazy what to think the past year has been.
Well, this is the thing, right? So now everyone's talking, especially on the radio stations around like what I'm listening to, and everyone's just deleting 2020. They're referring to last year's 2019. Like they're actually just like no one even wants to talk about it. Like it's just gone, right? I don't know. I don't know how this is going to pan out. Like people are still getting sick, right? This is still a real thing. So I don't know. I can't give an opinion about the seriousness of this stuff because that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a couple of guys sitting in a steakhouse that have drank way too much and should not have been at a steakhouse and probably could have got removed, but didn't, right? And the wife was not there. She told me not to come home, so that's why we had the hotel room. And Jaeger bombs, right? And then Jaeger bombs and Jaeger bombs and Jaeger bombs. You know me, right? Right? Once you fire it up, that's it. The big rig's rolling now.
Its lips just taste so good.
And which is why, right, 3 days later, I still have a hangover, but that's fine. We'll grow out of this at some point. But what a fantastic evening it was to just be out and doing, semi-normal things again. It was
slice of normalness back in your life.
Yes, something worth talking about, right? So that was a good time. I like that. I really.
I'm glad to see you're still upright. Glad to see you're not behind bars. Personally, I'm ready to start thinking of something warmer.
Yeah.
I want to see summer. I want to see tropical.
Yep.
Do you have anything that maybe can make me feel a little warmer? Is there someone that we can maybe?
You know what's weird is that I think we might have a guest tonight that it may or may not be in Hawaii.
Oh,
which kind of be crazy. I believe when we were chatting with him just before we got to this, he actually opened his patio door and I could hear the ocean, which made my heart flutter just a little bit because it's not like on TV. It's an actual wow. And guess what? Zach Knighton, he's here with us tonight, and we're going to bring him up right now. I hope you guys are pumped. I'm so pumped.
Rick from Magnum P.I. is here with us.
That's it. Oh.
Oh, sorry, boys. I was just checking the surf. How's it going?
Love it. I love it. Oh, it's fantastic. Oh,
cheers,
fantastic.
Boys.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. No, I think he was just out there looking at the spot where Mel already claimed he was going to be running by naked and into the ocean.
That's it. Oh.
Well, you gotta. I heard you guys starting up the show, and I'm hearing about this big rig. Once you get the big rig going, so I'm just charting a path down the hill. I just want to make sure, we get the pedestrians out of the way, that we get any sort of obstacle out of the way, so we can, once we get Mel out here, we can just have that path direct right to the ocean.
That's the one.
Yeah, if that path isn't there,
I have to get you greased up like a bodybuilder. All right.
I don't mind. I don't mind at all. No joke, man. So I was out in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. I went to the very end of Canada this way. As soon as I got out there, the first thing I did, strip down, jump in the ocean. I'm a Pisces, right? It's just part of what you see the big water, you got to go in the big water. That's what
your season, right? It's Pisces season right now.
That's it. We're right in full effect, firing on all cylinders. You know how that goes. So same deal, Vancouver Island, right? The north tip of Vancouver Island, we're out fishing, big salmon and halibut and everything. And my cousin's looking at me and I'm stripping down on the dock, right? I'm like, can you hold my cell phone? He's like, what are you doing? Sploosh, right? And he's like, you know how cold it is? I'm like, I don't care. Just give me 2 minutes here. I just gotta. And all the fishermen, the guys that I'm now going to spend the next 2 weeks with, right, are all just shaking their heads like, where's he from? Edmonton, Alberta. They're like, oh, okay. So there's like nothing but prairies out there. I get it. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
God's country up there. God's country.
Oh, it's amazing, man. Absolutely.
Vancouver,
If you've ever seen,
Vancouver Island.
there's a TV show called Alone, and they've done a couple seasons out there where they've been stuck literally where these people are like eating mice off of the rocks, and they're talking about I've like cruised past there in a boat right where they're like when they show the maps, and I'm looking at the wife and I'm going back on my my Facebook galleries, and I'm like, I'll show you that rock. I've literally been right there. There's good fishing right around there. And then you get so mad, it's like Big Brother. Just shoot the monkey. There's a monkey, or Survivor, I mean, right? Everyone's starving. Well, the sequence opened up with an iguana. Eat the iguana. Why are you not?
Well, Alone was always the interesting one to me, where they would be like showing all these foxes, and they're like, well, we're not allowed to show the fox. Or we're not allowed to shoot the fox. I'm like, well, there's no cameraman with you. Turn your camera off and shoot the damn fox.
That's it. You better believe if I was out in that scenario, I'd be making do with a lot of stuff there.
I love those shows. It's funny it's funny we're talking about it because those are the shows that my wife and I have been watching this whole pandemic. We started with all the Alones. We ripped through all the Alones.
Naked and Afraid.
And then Naked and Afraid. Yeah, we're ripped through all those, and now we're actually on the Survivor, on the CBS, the game Survivor, ripping through those. It's the most I love nature. I love the outdoors, but I love the human psychology. I love watching these people manipulate the hell out of each other. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a sick, twisted thing about me, but I love watching it. So that's been on our docket lately. That and your guys' show.
Awesome, man.
Well, and what I love too is we've been watching that, and my wife loves those shows. She is not an outdoors person. Like her idea of going camping is it has to be in an Airstream because they're cute. But she loves these shows, and but we're like watching it, and she's like, oh, there's spiders there. That's where I tap out. I'm like, no, you tap out when you have to walk in the woods naked. You're done.
So not very compatible with Mel then. If we get them together around
no. Probably not. But yeah, we've seen all of them too, and they are fun to watch. And we watched one from the new season of Naked and Afraid last night, and there was a lot of human psychology going on in that episode.
I wonder if it's a psychological thing, like we are put into a life-threatening situation, or so we thought a year ago. Who knows if we're going to wake up tomorrow? I better learn how to gut a mouse if I do it in a pitfall trap, and I better learn how to do this. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm eating a pint of ice cream and drinking a bourbon or something, and I'm like, these guys can't hack it. These guys can't hack it in the wilderness. I'm sitting with my, furry slippers on my feet, and it's always easier on the other side.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, that was my chuckle with the Alone show, right? Because I'm trying to explain to the wife, like half the deep freeze, all the salmon, right, our halibut and everything, literally 100 feet farther than where they're stuck. And I'm like, if they could just get off their butt and make some kind of fishing rig, they'd be eating like kings right now. Like the crabs would come, catch one salmon, right? Cut the head off it, make some kind of crab trap. Now you got crab, you're done. Like, and then the bears come, wrestle a bear. Now you got bear meat with crab and sap. Like
Mel, I would pay big top dollar to see you wrestle a bear. Top dollar.
Oh yeah.
See, that's
Probably
little one.
Do the same
maybe
for you, Chris. But we just met. I've known Mel a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd handle yourself perfectly fine against a bear as well.
And this was the first night I met Mel, or we got to meet in person at Oktoberfest. We had quite a few beverages, and we had an open bar party, and then we went to the hotel bar afterwards, and things are starting to wind down, and Mel's just sitting there. He's like looking at me, and finally I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "I want to wrestle you." Like, oh, okay, it's on. I got Mel by a few inches.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit bigger than me, so I think it'd be a fair match.
Yep, that's it. It's all hard after that. That's it.
It'd definitely be a heavyweight bout.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because, like, our team leader kind of guy for Big Green Egg, the first thing he said when he heard that story, he's like, that's it, next Eggtoberfest, you guys are going to have to wrestle. Right away, I'm like, well, I'm going to have to get a Ric Flair robe. There's no way around this now. That's what do you have for a band at this event? I'm going to need to know because...
Hey, you just bring that purple robe. That's all you need.
Oh, that's it. Purple robe and a bow and those vipers. You're set.
Oh, I love it.
Zach, you are down in Oahu, Hawaii.
Yeah, we're on the
Why don't
island.
you tell a little bit of tell us a little bit about what brought you down there?
Well, we've been here for 3 years. We came out with the show with Magnum P.I. I play Rick on the new Magnum P.I. on CBS, and we sort of have made it our home. We still have our place in California, but we've rented everything out, and we've been here for 3 years. We bought a house here. We had our son here this year. I've got a 16-month-old right now, so he's known nothing but Hawaii. We were in LA a little bit during the pandemic, but yeah, we've just been here. It's kind of always been my dream to come here anyway. So this gig was like heaven sent to this job just sort of fell into my lap. And it was really just a dream. And so we've been out here for 3 years, and I'll tell you, it's a hell of a place to pandemic too.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, it's pretty easy to kind of hunker down there and, I have to stay in paradise.
Yeah. Well, we left here March, I think it was March 3rd or something last year to go handle some stuff in California. And then 5 days later, the whole world shut down. So when that happened, we were stuck there. We kind of did the beginning of the pandemic there. And then as soon as we felt like it was safe to kind of pick up the whole caravan and jump on a plane with shields and masks and bandanas and all that, we did. And luckily, kind of came out unscathed.
That's awesome.
No. Well, that was one thing. That was one thing I wanted to ask was what was it like out there when this thing hit and what it went through, right?
It's been the people here, there's you don't see here the guys next door are starting up a jackhammer. Can you hear that? Hang on.
Sounds like a rattlesnake to me.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it's just a Hawaiian rattlesnake.
Hawaiian rattlesnake. That's fantastic.
Anyway, we the people here, you don't see people resisting the mask thing. You don't see people politicizing any of it. It's just like, let's just get through this. We'll wear our masks. We'll do what we can. We'll test. They've tested everybody coming in, and it seems to work because the cases here, I think there was like 20 cases here today on amongst all the islands. So it's pretty good right now here.
That's awesome. Yeah, Newfoundland did the same thing. They kind of shut down for a little while. They were down to 2 cases, right?
Wow.
Just crazy. With a full, a full civilization that was still rolling, down to 2 cases, right? So
unreal.
Yeah.
And then how about like you guys are Wisconsin? How's everything going there right now?
We're better. I mean, for a while there, we were hurting. I'm in the medical field, so that's what I do by day. And I know, when it was 3 months ago, November, December, we were at like a 30% positivity rate for a while, where it was, we were testing 5, 6, 10,000 people, and 30% of them were coming back positive every day. But now, I mean, the numbers recently have been really trending in the right direction. I think our state, specifically my area in Green Bay, has been doing a really good job of vaccinating. So we're starting to get that under better control too. And, things are looking up. There's reason to be optimistic. And I think we're all kind of have that eye in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose we still had like 480 cases today, but that's much less than what it had been. Did you lose Zach too?
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, things are looking up. I think we're all being a little bit more positive that.
He said something he wasn't supposed to, and Hawaii turned the Wi-Fi off. That's what happened there. That was
Well, maybe the neighbor with the jackhammer got a little
the
carried
neighbor
away.
jackhammered his internet line. That's what happened. That's
All right, I'm back. You got me?
Yeah, loud and clear, actually.
right on.
The
So-
miracle of modern technology.
Jesus. Yeah.
There's obviously a lot going on in Hawaii. When I think about Hawaii and Big Green Egg, because you're a big Green Egg guy, you're grilling on an egg, right?
Me, yeah. I've got the XL and I got the Mini Max here.
Oh, that's the same exact setup I have. I think those two play really well together. I think of a lot of seafood when I think of Hawaii. I mean, I think of seafood, I think of like fresh fruit. But I mean, are you guys into seafood?
Yeah, I'm a part of a sort of co-op, a seafood a fisherman co-op, where this gal kind of gets from different fishermen all over the island and has different offerings every week, which is great. You never know what you're going to get, so you just kind of order a share, either a family share or an individual. And sometimes it's really nice yellowtail. Sometimes it's whole fish. A lot of times it's marlin. You know, marlin's really big out here. So it's pretty fun because you get to sort of decide what you're going to cook that night, or if you're going to cook at all. A lot of times, if I get that ahi, I'm just doing, you know, Hawaiian style poke or the shoyu poke. That's what's so great about the cuisine here is it's so much is they call it poo-poos, which is a funny name, but it's small bites. So, you know, we'll get short ribs and do a kind of any sort of marinade, Japanese marinade, yakiniku, something like that. Sear them, take the scissors, you cut them, you know, between every joint, you just pass around the cutting board, and everybody is poo-poos, you know, and you do, you know, Kauai prawns, or you do the poke. So yes, seafood is a big part of it, and it's awesome. It's the best fish I've ever had out here. It's unreal.
That's there is something that this is leading up to, and I've been trying not to ask it, but I have to. Chris and I did an actual challenge, which may have spurred from Hawaii, which we never paid out on. And I think the guy who won is in here. So we're just going to pretend like that never happened. But tell us about the Spam.
Oh, man. The Spam is unreal.
Is this a real thing? Because sometimes I think like it's just an internet spoof where they're just kind of... It's a real thing, isn't it?
That people like Spam here?
Yes.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And this is the only place that you can find the different flavors of Spam. There's not just OG here. They've got like black pepper garlic or shoyu Spam or just different kinds of Spam. It's not really a factor it's never in our pantry because you don't need to refrigerate it. It's not in the pantry. Although that would be a fantastic food to have in the pantry, especially during the pandemic. If you need that fat, if you need stuff, I mean,
right.
Great. That's where it started, right? It was a survival.
Yeah.
It started during the war, right? Isn't that the? I'm not totally familiar with the history.
I think you're right.
Yeah, World War II rationing, getting them their fats and their meats and stuff in a can. But no, the Spam is real here. It's real, and it's a lifestyle. You know, people. There's some. You know, you go to the bar at the Four Seasons, they make you a Mai Tai and they give it to you in a Spam container, you know.
So
it's pretty funny.
It's so great.
Yeah. Well, my dad is obsessed with Spam. My dad's probably watching this right now and he's probably frothing.
Well, so here's the deal. My grandmother, she's 94 or she's 95 now, and to her, Spam is still like a treat. So when I have to go grocery shopping for her, because we all take turns as grandchildren, right? When I go grocery shopping for her, she wants that can of Spam in there. And I'm like, I can get you a steak. I can get you Wagyu if you want, or, you know, whatever you... And she's like, no, the Spam is... Because she lived through the Depression.
Yeah.
And that was the make it or break it, was that can of Spam. If you had that in your pantry, well, then you're doing all right. And to her, that was always a treat. After that, it was always a treat. And I just... So we get it. We always just get it. We do it, and it's a neat thing. It's pretty cool. But I was wondering how that related to the islands and all of that stuff. It was
Well, it's probably primarily a breakfast food here. I mean, you go to the diner, the local breakfast spot. It's always going to be, loco moco, which is a burger patty on rice with gravy and a fried egg on top. That's like the number one island breakfast for sure. And then there's, you can do eggs with your. It's always a little bit of an Asian addition or a Portuguese addition. So most people will have breakfast. They'll have 2 scoops of white rice, a couple fried eggs, and your choice of meat. So it's either going to be Spam, Portuguese sausage, or bacon. So
Nice.
with the Portuguese sausage, that's a whole other topic that we could get into because that stuff is just.
Yeah. No, I'm well familiar with Portuguese sauce.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are.
Yes. Fantastic. Oh.
That's my wife's favorite too. My wife, every time if we go to Zip, I don't know if you guys know what Zippies is. You ever heard of Zippies? So Zippies is like the famous kind of like our Denny's or it's like the island diner, and they have just the best breakfast, just Portuguese, slices where they do the disc style, just pounds of Portuguese sausage with your eggs and hash or whatever. And my God, breakfast is one of my favorite meals. I don't know if you guys can tell.
Well, I'm the same way. Like, I love a good breakfast, and I like the messy breakfast too. Like, I probably eat breakfast once or twice a week. So I like either a big breakfast burrito that's loaded up, or give me like the breakfast potatoes topped with meat, topped with a runny, well, more than one, but a couple of runny eggs that you can just break open and just toast it all in hot sauce. Yeah, I'm happy right there.
My favorite is when I'm doing like when I started getting into cooking on the grill, or I started smoking with the Weber, with the black Weber, that standard smoker, and my go-to would always be a pork shoulder, pork butt. I would do the pulled pork overnight, set the alarm, come back out at 4 o'clock, and the best was it would come 8, 9 o'clock when you're up in the morning, starting that shred and grabbing some of those that freshly smoked shredded pork and making a scramble with that. Oh my God.
Oh. I love taking that pulled pork and putting it on the skillet and getting that pulled pork nice and crispy too, almost like the hash brown texture. Oh, yeah, buddy.
You can really make some dirty pancakes with that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fantastic.
So, what is your favorite dish to make on the egg? Say you're gonna have you and your wife. Is it Betsy, right?
Betsy, yeah, my wife's name is
Say
Betsy.
you guys are gonna have a couple of other couples over for dinner. You're gonna impress them with your cooking, your grilling. What are you gonna throw down?
Probably, some variation of like a huli chicken, or it's always a good. I have the for my XL, I have the half skillet, half cast iron grill. So I'll always do on the skillet side, I'll always do some big veg, some awesome broccoli rabe, or my mushrooms with the beer, where you can pour the beer in that skillet, maybe throw a couple brats in there, a couple sausages in that, just to flavor that stuff up. And I'll always do some sort of huli chicken, or some kind of homemade teriyaki chicken, something that I'm going to be able to feed 10 to 15 people. Look good while I'm cooking, but it's not too. I've done all the prep. I've done all the marinades. Everything's just sitting in a bucket of marinade, just waiting to be thrown on. If it's just me and the wife, I'll do the Mini Max. I think the Mini Max, because the grill is so close to the coals. I just love the way the Mini Max cooks steak. I mean,
yes,
I can't get my steak on the XL like I can on the Mini Max. It's mind blowing on that Mini Max. I'm so happy. I just got it like a month ago, so I'm really happy with the Mini Max. And I got a lot of ideas for Mel's birthday cook on the green egg stuff on Instagram this weekend. But I'm loving that little grill.
It's a searing machine. So for searing steaks, it doesn't get better. I use it for scallops. Like, I'll bring my cast iron, I'll put it on there because it can get hot. I'm not splattering shit all over my kitchen. My house isn't gonna stink like smoked or like seared seafood for the next 3 days, which isn't a bad thing. But But it's just so easy to do it, and I mean,
I don't
such a
like
great
the seared seafood smell in the kitchen. I'm gonna guess your wife doesn't like it as much as my wife doesn't like it.
right. It's not so much for me as it is for the other half. But I'm smart enough to know that, yeah, yes, I need to cater to her.
We all
If mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mel's birthday cook. He was doing stuff on there that I didn't know you could do on the Mini Max. I mean, he threw down a crispy skin porchetta on there, which is just ridiculous.
The duck. I nailed that duck. Wait until you see the video of me cutting into it. I was like, this is crazy. You know why? Because it does the airflow. That's the thing. It's so short that it's able to move that steam. And that's
you're almost getting an air fry while you're doing the
exactly. That's the trouble with the kettles is it's trapping it in to hold the temperature because of the steel, right? It's circulating more than it's venting. The Mini Max has already got the heat in the pot and up the sides, so it's just straight venting, and it was able to I was, and the porchetta. You'd assume all of that pork belly was the fat, right? But it rendered out pretty nice and didn't overflow. It was, I did extra with the tinfoil pan. I'm not gonna lie, with that porchetta.
Well,
it was a nice tinfoil pan on the. Yeah, but you have to. It
would have been black.
Yeah. So you started that porchetta on the tinfoil, or you cooked it, and then when you saw it starting to get a color you wanted, you added the pan.
No. So whenever I hate a greasy plate setter. I hate a greasy plate setter. So I'm always trying to put tinfoil under it anyway. Even if I'm cooking sausages, I'll throw tinfoil in there just to catch it and then pull them off, whatever. But with the porchetta, I made the tinfoil basket that I built touch the grill and right to the ends, like past where the plate setter sat, just so it would drain off the sides, because literally the porchetta touched the sides of the egg. Like that's how big she just fit, like a football. And then she drained into it just perfectly, because she would have for sure had flare-ups or something. Like something would have came from that. Too much grease.
Yeah,
but
a lot of fat.
It funneled just perfect into that plate setter, and it just smoked just. I was so impressed.
That thing looked mind-blowing. That thing looked so good. I was imagining that on a little plate of rice with a cracked fried egg on top of that. Oh my God.
Believe me, I tried with the rice, but my wife and my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law all hate rice.
Really?
That's all I was like, just buy me one small bag of rice. That's all I'm asking. And three faces turned. No. Just like that. All three heads. Same time. No. That was it. So.
But it's my birthday.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is they come here, they don't have to get the rice. They can get a scoop of the mac salad or the potato salad instead.
See, that's.
So you were talking about, was it a huli chicken?
Yeah, that's kind of a local style chicken, like a ginger, garlic, use a soy sauce and some balsamic. And it's like a dark, kind of tropical, fruity chicken. It's good. Sugary, a little brown sugar in there. It's dirty.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of like thank you, Alex. Who hates rice?
I have to jump in here and just explain this just for a second for Alex. When I'm cooking something new and fun, I tend to want to dissect it and get right into the bones of it and get right into the heart of the dish. And butter chicken is one dish that I've had many times from many different places, but didn't understand like the actual backbone of the dish. Oh, look at that. See? So I started working the butter chicken. I think almost a month. Almost every day we had butter chicken on rice. Before she finally pulled the pin and said, "That's it. There will be no more rice for our considerable future here. That's just done." I had people. So up here, we're a very big cultural melting pot. It's amazing the culinary diversity of even just like my standard weld shop, with mothers and grandmothers that are like from the old country here, don't speak a lick of English, but they're here, and I'm able to communicate with them through their sons or daughters or whatever. Oh, there you go. Double oaked is nice. So you're getting like straight from old school, old world recipes,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like almost no loss of translation. And this is one thing I'm blessed about Canada. Like, this melting pot has definitely opened my eyes like crazy with the culinary stuff. With this butter chicken, I've had all kinds of crazy simmering dates in onions and garlic with oil before adding it to your chicken, right? Smoking your chicken tandoori style a day ahead of time and then throw it. Like, there's so many different angles for this. And I had to try pretty much every single one I heard. And my poor wife was like, I'm done. If you put rice on a plate in front of me one more time. And this was eventually the rice killer. Because now I do a wicked chicken fried rice. I do an amazing chicken fried rice. And she's like, I don't care. If you show up with rice, you're going to have to leave. Like, we're done here. So believe me, I get away with murder here. I'll take that on the chin, right? Anytime we go out for takeout, I'm like, I need rice. Whatever it is, done deal. I get my rice, you get hamburger. I don't care. But I did it to myself. I did. Well, the answer there.
I'm kind of the same way as, you kind of fixate on a recipe and you want to do it different ways. For me, it was actually fried rice. I was watching, it was an episode of The Chef Show on Netflix with Roy Choi and Jon Favreau. And they were talking about, might not have been, I think, yeah, it was The Chef Show. And they were talking about fried rice and like how they make it and do it. And I was just like, I wanted to keep making it. And my wife doesn't like it exactly the way that I like it. Like, I saw it on there where they got it like so crispy, where it's like almost like each little individual grain of rice was crispy. And I'm like, I want that because I want to put a fried egg on it. And, that's what I want. And she's like, yeah, I don't mind it a little crispy, but she kind of likes it when it clumps together, where I'm like, I want to feel each individual grain of rice is crispy and just, and it takes a while to do that, to get that kind of the way you want it. You have enough oil, but not too much oil where it becomes greasy. Making sure you're using at least day-old rice so it has a little bit less moisture, so you can get that. It's it's a lot of trial and error, but for me it's a fun trial and error.
See, I'll tell you, I've had that Roy Choi fried rice so much. It's so good. He had this place in LA called A-Frame that was like the best restaurant, and he did this other he brought kind of the Korean. He blended this Korean and Mexican thing. Korean tacos, unbelievable. But yeah, fried rice, that's the individual rice kernel. That is the key.
Yeah. Yes. When you can oil it enough that it's almost translucent, perfectly fried, like that's when you like, as soon as you were talking about that, that's what I was seeing, using like bacon grease as a nice binder for a beautiful fried. So if you touch it, every kernel of rice falls off of the spoon. You've done something magical here, and I just want to eat a 5-gallon pail of it. That's the
I just started messing with the wok with the egg. I just started to play with that a little bit.
Oh man,
that is my favorite. It really is. Like, I might go a stretch where I don't use it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I use it, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I need to use this more. Whether it's just stir frying and serving it over noodles. That's another big thing that we'll do, because my kids love noodles. My 9-year-old, my 7-year-old girl, they love noodles. So what I'll do is I'll get either I know they're not the same, but either like an extra noodle that has extra protein in it or extra vegetables, something I can kind of get them to get a little bit extra than just plain noodles. Because they won't eat. They're starting
to figure it out. They're starting to make some pretty good, healthy things that you can use.
They might have like an extra half a serving of veggies, but it's worth it for my daughter who won't eat any green vegetables, or they all have their own like little things. But if you can stir fry up some chicken or beef and broccoli and put that over some lo mein noodles. I mean, it's a solid meal, and you can cook it in 5 minutes, 7 minutes.
Yep.
That's my only thing with it is it's, you know, it only fits on the XL for me. And if I'm gonna fire all those, you know, it's no secret the XL uses a lot of fuel. So I'm gonna fire that big bed of coals and then I cook the meal in 5 minutes. I start with my onions, my garlic. I throw in my protein, then I throw in my veg. I'm done. And then I need to figure out a 2-stage sort of thing with the egg where that's it, like the appetizer, and then I go to something after that.
Yep.
So do you have like the big green egg wok with the 2 small handles, or do you have a long handled wok?
I have the egg wok, the big green egg wok. Yeah.
It actually will fit on your Mini Max. You know, you have the bottom wide open. The wok will fit on there almost tight, but as long as you have a good fire and the bottom then wide open, if I'm using the XL, I close the bottom vent completely. It actually will fit on the Mini Max.
Yep.
And we actually,
I'm gonna give that a shot.
For one of our Oktoberfests, we brought a Mini Max along with us, and gosh, I think it was Big Chef Timmy fried a couple of thousand wontons in that, and it was able to keep the temp kind of without getting too hot, because you're not, you know, like that's the problem with the egg sometimes. If it's, you know, you spend more time cutting up your mise en place for the stir fry than actually cooking the stir fry, where if I have the top open too much, I go out there and I put my oil in that, even my, you know, safflower oil starts on fire instantly, and I'm like, oh well, it got away from it. The Mini Max, once you put that wok on top, it shuts down some of that airflow, but it's definitely going to stay hot enough to cook what you want to cook.
So you keep that bottom wide open, so it's just kind of recirculating in the bottom only.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll try that next time, because that's the only thing. I've just been sort of, you know, I've done a few meals with it, and it's felt like it was a big rigmarole for a 5-minute cook. And like you guys, I'm sure for me, it's so much. I like to stand in front of that grill for hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things I love the most. So if I'm getting ready, if I'm prepping, I want to have a big. It's an event, you know, with either my family or my friends, but it's an event, and that's been my only downfall with the wok. Love the wok though, Big Green Egg. Anybody who's watching from the Big Green Egg family, even though I tag you guys in my posts, I never get any love, but whatever. I love the wok. It's
not their fault. They have no idea when it comes to tagging and stuff. They're really trying to.
They are, and it's crazy when you see, like, when we do our takeovers and we're in there, like, I turn off I'm sorry, I hope it doesn't turn it off for them, but like I turn off the notification because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. It's nuts.
They're a great company. Yeah. It's a great company.
Yeah. The wok is honestly one of my favorite things for it, and it's fantastic. And that's one of those cooks where I have to bring everything out before I get started. I have a little tray, all my little dishes, and try to get myself kind of organized before it starts, because once it starts, it's just a flurry of activity. But
yeah, and it is so fun with that big spoon too. I mean, it's fun to cook in that thing.
I've got one for you, brother. If you want to be hanging around your egg and have it rolling, but you still want to use the wok, fill it full of oil and do a deep fried appetizer night.
There you go.
So my best Nashville hot chicken ever came out of the wok deep frying, and then I used a drying rack on top of the wok, shut the lid to dry it out, roll it in its seasoning, roll it in its liquid, put it back on the drying rack.
Wow.
It was perfect. It was crispy, it was hot, it was fresh. The oil is just everything about it, and the house doesn't stink, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. You throw dumplings in there after, you throw some spring rolls in there. You can keep feeding that thing all night long.
It's a fry party. It's just going to be a fry party all night long. I love it.
Oh, it works. It works really well.
Full disclosure for all of our viewers and listeners, frying over open fire can be very dangerous. Make sure you have a thing of baking soda out by you. Make sure that you can easily close the top. Just be careful. We are professionals. I think that's what I'm supposed to say. But
that's what you're supposed to say.
Don't burn down your house.
quite literally, if that wok caught fire
Right.
in your kitchen, you'd be hooped
Right.
trying to put that sucker out. If your wok caught fire in your XL, you shut the lid, shut the vents, and we're back.
Yes.
That, like, quite literally. Like, it's, once you get down to the brass taxes, it's actually quite insane how safe it is to cook like that, as opposed to...
And you're not putting a gallon of oil inside of the wok either. You're going to fill it, you know, a third of the way to halfway, and you still have plenty of room to keep yourself safe. And you have your thermometer out there to make sure it's not getting too hot. I know you're safe. You know what you're doing, but we just want to make sure that someone doesn't hear this. That
Exactly.
Just 2 weeks ago and starts deep frying on it.
That's...
Please don't.
Why do I feel like I'm the guy who's going to start the fire now?
We didn't start the fire. It was always burning.
Well, again, it's a great application for it. As long as you're smart, you know what you're doing. You maybe don't have too many drinks before you start doing it. And yeah, it's a great way to do it.
Now, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this. So if my one of my best friends is sort of my cooking partner, we make pizza doughs together. We do smokes together, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, he's probably watching this, so he's going to appreciate this. But we have a little tradition of a kind of a fry party the day after Thanksgiving here. Ooh. So we'll grab some mashed potatoes and do little potato turkey balls and fry them. We just fry everything. So I think this sounds like a great idea for the day after Thanksgiving. And I like to cook my Thanksgiving dinner on the egg too. So it's perfect. That's what I'm going to do this year for Thanksgiving. The fry party on the egg. My neatest little sneaky peek for this year with deep frying is deep fried pickle spears. Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh,
ice cold pickle spears dropped in the beer batter and then right into the oil, quickly pulled back out, air dry on the drying rack.
Mm-hmm.
Crack a beer.
You're done, man. You're done.
You gotta have a cold beer with that. You can't just eat those straight.
Deep fried pickle spears.
What are you dipping it in?
I make my beer batter, same like you do with halibut.
No, after it's cooked, what are you dipping it in? Nothing.
I'm Ukrainian, man. It's just pickle.
See,
no ranch with that. No ranch, nothing like that.
No, I'm not a sauce guy.
I'm all about condiments.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a sauce guy, but no, you could. That's the neat thing about different chefs in the kitchen, right?
Right.
I see guys, they pull out a brisket, they slice their brisket up. The first thing they're doing is pulling out that flight of sauces. Mm. And that was their thing, was that they wanted to try the ranch with the brisket and then the plum sauce with the brisket. That was all they wanted, was the sauces. It is what it is.
It's weird because I actually don't sauce my brisket unless I'm eating it in like a sandwich. You know, if I want to make like a big dirty sandwich, I'll sauce it. If I'm just eating it on like a platter, sauce will not touch my brisket. I want to taste the beef. That's one of the few things that I'm, well, I shouldn't say one of the few things. I mean, beef or brisket, steak, stuff like that. I don't sauce that. I love putting different sauces and condiments on stuff like burgers and wings. And I'll be honest, when I do fried pickles, usually I do like the chips, right? Because you can dip it in different sauces, like a spicy ranch or something like that. But yeah, I get where you're coming from with just wanting to enjoy.
Man, me and the wife are cut from two completely different cloths. I cook 2 steaks, right? And we'll cut one piece off for the kids. We'll split it up because the kids don't like a ton, right? And I'm good. We've got salt, we've got pepper, we're ready to eat. And then here comes the wife with the A5 and the H1, right? And then maybe she's got, I don't know, some kind of hot sauce or Valentino's or something. And she knows. She's like, I'm going to try it first. Don't worry. Right? And she has that one piece. That was fantastic. And then all of a sudden you see, yeah. And that's because that's what she wanted. She wanted the sauces. It is what it is. And I'm used to it. And I get it.
The steak is a sauce delivery device.
That's it. And I understand that. That's me with bread. If I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which I haven't had in 20 years, but if I had one tomorrow, there would be 3/4 of an inch of jam on there and 1/4 of a jar of peanut butter. And that would be my, because I'm not down with the bread, but I really am having a hankering for peanut butter and jelly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my life. That's how so I get it. I totally get it.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Are you doing peanut butter, jelly, or like peanut butter on both sides of the bread and jelly in between?
The last time I had one, Chris, was grade 7, I think.
Oh, I had one last week.
I honestly, me and bread, we don't get along very much unless, so my birthday weekend, I'll give you this. We were up in Invermere in BC, and they have this tiny little bakery out there, and they have a massive stone mill. Like, it's old school, like crazy mountain people, stone mill, stone ground bread, and they have a Nordic blend.
Water that was turning the mill, or did they like have one of the ones where you needed like the donkeys to turn it?
I don't know. I didn't get right into it, but needless to say, this Nordic blend of bread, I'll eat like a loaf as soon as we get there. I can't help it. Just, I'll make toast with butter. That's it. Toast with butter. Won't put anything on it. Just the bread with the butter, hot, real hot, and I'll eat a whole loaf, and then I'm good for like another year. It's a weird thing. But good bread, how do you argue with that? Good bread, fresh, you got to do it.
I love bread. So and unfortunately now with COVID times, we eat a lot of sandwiches, especially at work, because the doctor's lounge, that's all we have is these little individually packed sandwiches. So that's why I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich last week on Friday. Couldn't have meat, so peanut butter and jelly. And what they do is they put granola on the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like just to give it that little bit of crunch. It gave it a little crunch. It wasn't terrible.
I'm a purist when it comes to PB&J, but that sounds pretty damn good.
That's horrible.
It wasn't bad. Yeah, I'm still a sucker for peanut butter and jelly. Like, kids will want that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make myself one.
The wife surprised me. The kids have had a little bit of a cold, right? So she did chicken noodle soup, and she cooked extra. And I came out and I was like, "What is that? Can I have a bowl of that?" And she's like, "I knew you were coming. I knew for sure." So she made an extra bit just for me. Talk about down nostalgia street, right? So we're having chicken noodle soup, and then out come the grilled cheese sandwiches.
Ooh.
Oh man, I was done. Like that's it. Put some baseball cards in the spokes. We're back to being a kid again. We're done. This is
So
yeah, the bread.
Like secrets or things that you add to your chicken noodle soup?
Garlic and basil. Garlic and basil has to be heavily present. After that, we're good. Doesn't matter.
About the basil, is the basil in from the beginning, or is that like that fresh topping you're putting on at the end?
No, we want to start early.
Okay.
We want to start early with the basil. Yep.
And the basil stays in. You don't like put it in like a herb bundle and pull it out.
No, that's broth basil. Go. Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
So I love to do a spatchcock on the egg, and I'll do the drip tray under with the induction plate. And I'll have all my herbs in beer, aromatics on that drip tray, and that reduces down. You cook obviously all that fat stripping down in there too, reducing. We'll eat the chicken as a meal, and then I'll take the carcass, make my broth, but with all those drippings. So all that herb, all those aromatics make it into the broth. Yeah. And then I do my chicken soup with that stuff. I'm a big fan of anytime I cook a whole beast, I'll make a broth out of it, whether it's a fish or, obviously chicken, turkey, that's the main thing. Because you always taste the smoke in the broth. You can always taste that smoke. And that, to me, takes this chicken soup, like we're talking any comfort food, just sort of elevates it, makes it a little better, takes it to the next level. And always my little secret ingredient is just a couple of splashes of shoyu at the end, a little bit of soy, just a couple. I go a little light on my salt, when I'm seasoning, and then I always kind of finish the soup with or even if I serve it, in a cup, I'll give it a couple, bloop, bloop, just a couple of splashes of shoyu, and it gives it like 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 the Hava chips. You ever had those tortilla chips? Their secret ingredient is soy sauce. I mean, they finish their chips with soy sauce and a little sea salt, and it's just a different kind of salt.
Yep.
That gives it almost that umami thing. I don't know what it is, but that combined with the smoke from the egg, oh my god.
Yep. No, I don't know if you ever saw my beef dip video. That was my magic trick, was the peppers and the onions that are going to go into your beef dip are inside of a pan full of beef broth, and I'm cooking that whole top sirloin. I'm smoking it and cooking it on the big green egg, and it's dripping into the pan that is full of broth with the onions and the peppers. So then you have your au jus, you have your onions, you have your peppers, and now you're shaving that whole roast into the best beef dip you've ever had. It's nuts. Bit of Worcestershire, bit of garlic. It just all comes together, and everybody that sees it's like, I have to make this right now. Like, is that
saved on your stories on your Instagram? Because I'm gonna definitely go deep.
Oh yeah, no, it's on there. It's on there,
right.
And it's, believe me, like, you just see a picture of it, and you're like, that makes 100% sense. Like, that's how you do a beef dip from now on. And just like you said, everything is smoking and marinating and doing all of its stuff all together, and then you break it down into different parts, and then you put it all back together on a crispy bun. Oh,
next,
so good, so good. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm gonna go deep on that one. I'm gonna replicate that. That's gonna be the next meal. I can already tell.
Oh, it's that good. It's quite good.
So getting back to your spatchcock chicken and making your broth with it, do you save the spines then too for your broth the next day?
I always put the entire thing. I put the spines in. I'll do it low overnight usually. So if I make the chicken or the turkey. I like to do whole turkeys all the time. I like to, I'll do a small turkey as much as I'll do chicken often. Turkey to me is so damn good. And the broth is always the best part of me doing any kind of turkey dish. So, but I'll do all the bones, everything, cook them overnight. And then my other little trick in the morning, I'm sure it's not a trick, but I like to go in there with my industrial shears and I'll cut all the bones. So then I cut all the bones, make sure I get as much of that marrow in there as I can, and but I like it all. And I'll put all the. I never really make gravy. I don't often, like, gravy's not really my thing to make, and I'd rather use all those organs for the broth. So I'll just put the heart, everything into the broth, and just hope it kind of makes it in there. Sometimes I'll take the organs out after I do a broth, and I'll do them in the Vitamix, and I'll put them back into my drain broth to give it a little body. So it almost makes like a gravy vibe to the broth, Yeah,
that's fantastic. And I think, definitely that's what I do with my spines for my spatchcocks too. Even like if I know I'm not going to be making soup the next day or making that stock, I actually usually have a gallon bag that will have like 2 or 3 extra chicken spines in it from when I make spatchcock chickens, because there is some extra collagen in there that just really gives that broth a little bit more body. That when you use that, I mean, much like chicken feet would too. I mean, chicken feet are very high in collagen, that if you boil those in a broth, it's going to release that a little bit more and just give you that extra.
Well, and Chris, I'm an actor. I'm used to, I got to get my collagen. I got to, I got to make sure that these eyes stay lifted. You know what I mean?
Right.
Chicken feet is meant for sucking, just so we're clear here.
Whatever you're into.
With the black bean sauce, and you need to eat them. Don't boil them. I always see people making ramen broth, and they're boiling perfectly good chicken feet. I'm like, you've obviously never eaten one. Get it out of the pressure cooker and put it in black bean sauce. That's insane. Because I have a spatchcock chicken spine bag, and it's a gigantic freezer bag that like gets full every 2-3 months. Right. And that's my ramen broth right there. It goes into the Instapot. The Instapot is the most crazy broth making machine I've ever.
Yeah.
So my grandmother, way back in the day, like, we're going on 48-hour broths. That's how you make a good broth. You break everything down. Everything turns to mush in there, right? Everything's perfect. That's how you do it. And then I showed her my Instapot broth, and she was like, "That must have taken you 3 days to get that consistency." I was like, "This is technology now, Bubba. This is how it." Like I can make broth that's almost a Jello. It's crazy. Like that's
like the next day when you pull it out of the fridge, you plop it into the pot, it's Jello.
Oh, right there. You're like, yes, we've got another ringer. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So speaking of ramen, so you just posted this too, I think on Sunday. That must have been one of your hangover meals.
Yes.
When I usually do ramen, I'm usually doing, beef or pork tenderloin that I just grilled, chicken that I just pulled off the grill. I have a beautiful, beautiful pork belly in my freezer right now. What I want to do is cut some strips out of it, smoke it, and then vacuum seal some of those strips for, weeknight ramen, I'll call it. A night where I get home and I maybe have a half hour to quick make dinner.
Yep.
And pull it out. How would you smoke that pork belly? So keep in mind, this is not skin on, so the skin's removed. I'm just going to smoke it, get some flavor in it, and then vacuum seal a few of them.
Applewood, shallow pan. Make sure it's sitting in its juices.
Mm-hmm. So don't have it on the grate?
Nope, I wouldn't do the grate. I would put it in a pan with its juices. You want it to be retaining everything that's happening in there for your ramen. You'd want to start with something like fish sauce, maybe soy sauce, maybe a bit of hoisin before you even smoke it. You kind of want to marinate it before you even get it on the grill. Right. So it's got that real funky kiss to it before you even smoke it. Because when you pull it off, it's pretty much finished, right? You're going to just reheat it and put it on top of the ramen.
So maybe instead of something like hoisin, because I don't want that sugar in there to burn, maybe take a little bit more Korean with that, like a gochujang, fermented pepper paste.
You could even do a bulgogi, right?
Okay.
Bulgogi, a little splash of that. There you go. Yeah, that'll take you right to town.
Okay. Yeah. And then, for warming that back up, it wouldn't be such a bad idea if I took some of those drippings, put it in the vacuum sealed bag, and warmed it up in, say, a sous vide pot or something like that with 100%. That bag in there to kind of reinfuse that. Okay.
I love the sous vide. Now, if we're going to talk sous vide for a sec, combination with the egg, the picanha, I know you guys have been doing these picanhas lately, and I think DML. You don't like the sous vide. Oh, man.
With the picanha?
Let me tell you what it does.
I know.
It turns that fat cap into butter. It's butter. I mean, you could spread it on on a piece of bread.
I know. I get it every day, brother. Trust me. I get it every day. And So
you doing the whole picanha in the sous vide, or you cut it into steaks and doing the steaks in the sous vide?
Cutting it into steaks with the cap, and then doing a sous vide, and then the sear, finishing it on the sear. Oh, so, mind blowing.
That idea interests me. I know it's going to drive Mel nuts.
It does work, though. It does. I've seen it.
Cut it into steaks, so you've increased that surface area that's going to be exposed to that fat as you melt it.
Yeah.
In some ways, I feel like you're trying to use that fat more by sous vide it because you're infusing it right back into it.
You're not losing all that fat. It's not dripping off of that thing. I mean, it's the most moist, and it may be sacrilege. I'm down for all forms of, and listen, I've tried to do brisket in the sous vide, and the brisket doesn't even. It's so much better if you just don't mess with it and you keep it simple. You do it on the smoke and you skip the sous vide. It doesn't work in the sous vide, but there's something about the picanha and that concentrated fat. It's Mel. When you come to Hawaii, I'm going to do one for you, and we're going to see what you think. I'm going to make you eat it.
Don't get me wrong. I believe you. I've seen some great examples of it. For me, picanha is like it's a ritual meal. If I'm cooking picanha, that means I'm live fire. If anybody's around, they're about to get a show, because I'm gonna have some stuff flaming, and I'm gonna be doing and I want to do the rock salt, and I'm going to be really primitive with it, and I'm
Put it on the sword, the big skewers.
Yeah, and that's like as soon as you say sous vide, I'm like, oh great, I got to set it with my app, and I got to do all of this other.
It's not a show.
It takes the it takes the thing away from it. Like even people always get so weird when I'm doing my I do a 24-hour salt brine when I do picanha. So I'll even if I'm cutting it into steaks, I'll cut it into steaks and then leave it fat cap down in the fridge in a container. So it's just up in the air and salted. When they look at it, they're like, what the hell?
So a dry brine.
Yeah, and you smell it. Like you open the fridge, you smell it. It's there. And I absolutely love it. And they're like, what is that? Don't worry about it. Trust me. This is gonna be the cornerstone of dinner here. Trust me. This is
I mean, I did that for the first time with this picanha that I cut into steaks probably 2 weeks ago now. And I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, it was a Snake River Farms Wagyu picanha. The thing was gorgeous. But it looked like after you pulled it out of that dry brine or, that quick dry aging, it looked like these deep red New York strips, really. I mean, it just had that type of marbling, and, the fat on that was great. I mean, unfortunately, I did a reverse sear, and I could only sear it for about 45 seconds total because it was, I probably should have done it in 2 batches, but I put all 6 or 7 of them on at once, and they were just a fireball, but it was beautiful. It was something, but I get where Zach is coming from on this one, actually.
Yep.
And I am intrigued by it because
the fat just penetrates the meat and it gives that meat. It's still rare when you cook it. It doesn't. When it comes out, the outer bit gets that kind of gray sous vide. Nothing is pretty when it comes out of the sous vide.
No,
but when you finish it on the egg, it gets back its color, and it's cooked so perfect. And I do think that I love the fat. I want to drink that stuff. So I feel like it gets every bit of that fat in there. But as a purist, I agree. It's not as sexy. It's not as romantic.
I do believe you, because the best chef's kitchens in the world are cooking ribeyes that way right now.
Yeah.
And that
is sous vide going.
Best. Yeah, that is the best steak in the world right now, coming out of a steamer with the bag and then quick over the coals and on the plate.
Although I will say these Big Island ribeyes I've been getting and cooking on this Mini Max, a centimeter from the coals, it's hard to top that. Salt and pepper done.
Thank you for doubling back to that. So your XL. You have the 5-piece expander?
I don't have the expander, no.
That's what you need to do next.
Yeah.
So you take the expander that holds the bottom grate, and you can get your bottom grate this far away from the coals with that expander. It has a smaller grate that fits inside of it, and that would be what would be holding your wok.
Got it. Yeah, I've just been putting the wok right on the coals.
So they're in that expander, there's a ring inside of it. And that is a lowercase grill inside of your firebox.
So the other thing you can do that I've done, if you're not into the caveman searing yet too, is you can actually take your grill grate from your Mini Max and put that directly on your coals. And then put your steaks on top of that grill grate. You only have to, again, some people are a little weirded out by the idea of the caveman sear because you're putting it directly on coals, even though it's not picking up much of that ash. But you can still take that Mini Max grate, put that right on there, and then put your food, like your meat, right on there to sear. I've done that with chicken before because I haven't brought myself to be able to say, okay, I'm going to put chicken directly on the coals. So I'll use my Mini Max to put it down there and finish it that way to get just that quick sear and fire on it.
That's a great tip. Great tip. Getting some good tips, boys. I want to talk about this. I want to talk octopus for a second.
Yes.
I'm fascinated. First of all, the burger with the octopus tentacles, that thing is amazing. I got to have one of these one day. A lot of people eat octopus here. I haven't cooked it yet. You tell me a little bit about that. So you do a little cook, like a little brine or boil or something before you throw it on the egg, just to keep that moisture so it doesn't get too dry?
Yes. So the trick is I think you're kind of shocking its cells when you do it. You blanch it a couple times, like almost violently in the pot. So your pot, it's not a rolling boil, it's a simmer, but it's a good simmer. And when you drop it in, it tightens up, and then you pull it out. And then you drop it in, it tightens up some more, you pull it out. And you're letting it air cool back 30 seconds or so before you drop it in again. You're going to do this 4 or 5 times, and then you're going to finally let her go and bring it to a slow simmer. The magic is putting wine corks in there. Throw 2 or 3 wine corks in your mix. I put garlic, I put onions, I put peppercorns, maybe some basil, bay leaves if you want. It's all on how whatever you're going for your end result, whether you're going a Greek or you can go Mexican, like a nice, it doesn't matter. Whatever seasoning you have for your end result, you're trying to mix your kind of brining, marinating with that end result, right? The neatest one I ever did was a Greek marinade with Scotch bonnets. And the Scotch bonnets, I had 2 whole Scotch bonnets crushed in my simmer, and then I had more fresh sliced in my Ziploc bag. So it comes out of there after maybe 2 hours, depending. It all depends on the size of your octopus, how big the tentacles are, whatever. After you get it simmered to where you need it, where you like it, where you're comfortable with it, then it goes into a bag in the fridge for like a day, 24 hours. Then you're going to take it off and grill it, but you're going to grill it hot. It's enough to get it warm. It's enough for the flames to kiss it and give it all the things that it needs to have. You're going to bring it up to temp, and then you're pulling it off. If you've gone too far, you'll notice the suction cups start knocking off. And as soon as you start losing suction cups, you've gone way too far. So if you nail a good simmer and then you nail a good sear, you have a perfect octopus. Absolutely perfect. It cuts. It's a bit rubbery. There's nothing you can do. It's octopus. It's a bit rubbery any way you cut it. But still cuts with your teeth, swallows nice. It retains that flavor from the marinade. You're mint.
Yeah,
and that's great. That's where the prep comes from. That's where the blanching, right? You don't want to cook the outside skin right off the bat. It's not going to take in those liquids. It's not going to take in that seasoning. So you want to do it slowly and let. And then the cork just adds like a woody kind of smoky flavor to it. It's, I think, religious or maybe political. The cork. Either way, it needs to be there. I don't know what it does. I am not I don't cook meth for a living. I don't know what. I'm not a scientist, right? But that's I have no idea why that works, but it works. And if you bring this up with an Italian, they will tell you 100%. Don't try this. That's the way it's got to go. Don't try it without it. And I don't know. I've always a mystique too. It's cool. There's another show. If you're cooking in the kitchen, you're doing that before you fire your tentacle on the egg. Everybody goes, "Why's the cork in here?" And you can come up with whatever the hell bullshit you want to say.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, one thing about the cuisine in Hawaii is there's a huge Polynesian, Asian type influence that's been brought there. Does that kind of make its way over to beef too? Like if you're eating steaks, are you still just a salt and pepper, maybe garlic, maybe compound butter, or are you doing some Asian style, glazes on it or finishing sauces on it?
Well, the good thing about here, I'm sure you guys have this there too, but in the 2 different places you are, but there's so many great Asian markets here. So you've got there's a Vietnamese market, there's a ton of Japanese market, a ton of Korean markets, H Mart, all this stuff. So you can get all those really good marinades, kimchi. There's so many different flavors here that you can play around with. Here we go. Willie says, just looked it up. The wine corks release enzymes that tenderize the octopus. Look at that.
Wow.
I bet you get a little woody. I'm sure you get a little bit of that.
I bet you do too. I mean, you just smell the cork, so you know that's gonna.
Every time I've used them, I've nailed it. So I use them. That's how it is.
That's just going to be, I guess I have to drink more wine and collect more corks then. I'm just going to have to do that.
Yeah.
It's all for science.
But in terms of steak and beef, here I can't speak for everybody who lives in the state, but from hanging out with my Hawaiian friends and, people know one of my best buddies over here, Zeke, he's native Hawaiian. He's brings over the short ribs. Everything usually has a little Japanese flair, a little yakiniku. I've always loved a good teriyaki. Like that's my standard fare. I'll do brown rice bowls with kale and teriyaki chicken or steak or whatever. I haven't seen too many variances on steak and red meat here. I mean, even like Big Island beef that comes over, those guys are cowboys. Those guys are paniolos. They're like it's very Western. Yep. So, of course they do at the, at Nobu, you can get the Wagyu and the hot rock steak and all that stuff. But in general, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think that you bring the people, they'll just bring you the bag of steak marinating in whatever the hell mystery, pineapple juice, soy, ginger, just whatever it is. But there always is that little flavor, that little tropical bit, that little citrus in there that gives it more of a pop than like if you and I were to just do some standard teriyaki.
Right. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about that Big Island beef.
Well, the meat over here is really good, and they import. You can go to Whole Foods and you can get different beef from different places, and I can go to Snake River Farms and spend $50 on one ribeye to have it shipped here. But I will say, and I love that company, and their meat is mind blowing. But I do like the marbling, the meat that I get local here, especially the ribeye. I don't know why, but for me, the bone-in ribeyes that come from the Big Island there's just something about it. There's something about the grass that those cows are eating over there. There's just something about it. It's got this. It's less marbling and more like rivers of fat that kind of run through. That when they render so nice that it's just really good. And maybe that's just a local wherever you are thing. If you really are sourcing your meat that close to home, you get the same vibe. But there is just something kind of magical about the food that comes from over there. And oddly enough, the beef. There's more beef and shrimp. Shrimp is a big, prawns here are a big import, and you would think the produce would be the same way, but a lot of the produce, they don't really grow a lot of produce here. It's weird because the climate's perfect, and I think that probably has a lot to do with colonizers and taking away that land and creating pineapple fields and sugarcane fields when they were, you could have avocado trees, whatever. And that's a whole geopolitical thing that we won't get into right now. But I think, I think there's a new awareness that's happening in Hawaii with local produce and local smaller people, smaller farmers, whether they're maybe cattle farmers or produce. I think there's a new kind of local micro thing happening here, macro thing happening here, which is really cool. And hopefully it keeps going. But I will say the beef that I've had over here is really good. And of course you've got the wild boar. Everybody hunts wild boar here. So you get the Kahlua pig. I mean, we haven't even touched on that.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, you think of Hawaii, you think of pineapple, you think of, the wahoo, the marlin, the opa, and, fish like that down there. You think of the wild boar or pork, you don't necessarily think of the beef. So the fact that, that's something that's big there and, starting to, really find its footing. And it's probably something where, do they grade that out as prime or wagyu, or they just say, this is what it is?
There is Big Island Wagyu beef. There's prime. They do grade it out. I don't know the specific farms. Usually I just, actually my little market that's down the street, I have a Whole Foods, and then I have a, oh, did I lose you guys again?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Anyway, you can get, you go, it's almost like a little farmer's market inside the supermarket that I have down the street. And you could tell it's these small farms that are putting out these whole birds, these free range organic birds and beef. And then of course, the best part of being here and working on a television show here and meeting sort of so many Hawaiians and people that have been raised here and come up here and they know about my obsession with food is they bring me food to work. So I'll get like, hey, my auntie just made these, this jerky. Check out this jerky. And it's just some insane beef jerky that you can't believe is in every store in America right now. Or, they love to do ahi jerky too. So they make these fish cube jerky things. And
Ooh.
yeah, oh, so good. I would never even attempt to do that with fish, but they do it. And it's amazing to sort of have been let into the club a little bit because you make fast friends on a film set, So I couldn't just kind of come over here and just get into like the local food scene and get the knowledge that I do get by doing the show. So I'm really thankful for that for sure.
See,
comment.
So what Willie's saying, I have to jump in here just for a second. You guys make coffee, the world buys your coffee.
Right.
You guys make pineapples, the world buys your pineapple. You guys make buns, dinner rolls. The world buys your dinner rolls. Like, there's a huge market for. I couldn't even imagine the cows that are hanging out on the Big Island right now. They're like, hey, with the what do you call the lays, right? They got a couple lays on them, right? They're just hanging out. Everything's fantastic. Yeah, man. Like Snake River's probably got. They're going to be investing in Hawaii beef here pretty quick because
they should. I
bet you there were some relaxed cows right there. That's yeah.
Or not. I don't know. Is it possible to be a cow at a cattle farm and be relaxed? I feel like I'm constantly on edge. I feel like looking over my shoulder at all times.
That's the trick is that it's never a cattle farm. It's a spa.
Right.
Yeah. Until that day when the exit comes up. That's the yeah, I couldn't even imagine, man. But that's like everyone with the Kona coffee and stuff, right? It's a huge thing, man. It's a big deal.
The Kona coffee is serious, really, really good stuff. I mean, it's not cheap, that's for sure. Not even here.
I'm trying to think of the buns, the gold buns.
They're the King's Hawaiian.
King's, yeah, that's the ones. Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, you guys have your things. For sure, the beef would be the same.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, those King's Hawaiians, they go with the Kahlua pork like nobody's business.
I can imagine.
That beef is something you guys probably want to keep for yourselves, though. You gotta keep something local.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like anything, I think all agriculture is seeing a new shift, obviously, in a more local kind of mom and pop direction, which is good. And I think part of that is because we're buying things from these smaller companies. We're buying food from these smaller companies, and I think that's important that we do that. And I think there's been kind of a food awakening in this country that's been going on since the advent of social media and food channels and TV and Bourdain and all these people sort of educating the layman about food. And I think it's cool. And I think the more we buy local, the more these businesses are going to thrive, really.
Right. And some of that's going to come just out of necessity now. Like, especially down in Hawaii where it's so hard to ship things there, that out of necessity, they're like, well, we can continue to pay really high prices for beef that has to be shipped from, the continental U.S., or we can look at developing our own beef here that, okay, we don't have to pay to ship it here, but we're going to keep it here. And you're seeing other things like that out of necessity during COVID times too, where, people are like, well, produce and just different vegetables and growing them, more people are going to start doing this at home. And I think that's one of the cool things that's going to come from this is you're going to get those people that are going to push themselves, saying, okay, you know what, maybe I can shift my focus and I can make this my business. You know, I've started doing some of this on my own. I have that passion there, and I might do something just a little bit differently. And they're going to bring some of that creativity out, which maybe they wouldn't have had time to do that in, I don't want to say normal times, but we'll say pre-COVID times where, you know, now thanks to COVID, they've had more time to sit at home and, you know, bake bread or start to grow vegetables. And I think we're going to see some of those cool things kind of come out of this, and hopefully some of those people stick with that long term.
Yeah, I do too. I really do, because I think if people forget and lose the ability to make their own food or raise their own cattle, or, you know, we're going to be, if we leave it up to all these huge corporations, we're going to be in trouble for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather support the guy who's like waking up in the morning, tending to his cattle, and then going out for a surf, and then coming back and do it. You know, I have this romantic notion about being a farmer or being one of those guys one day. So, you know, in the meantime, I'll just support them.
I have to say, if it's anything like Vancouver Island, it's exactly like you just explained. Because everyone that I know on Vancouver Island that has like a day job still has that like lunch break where they go out and mess around. Like, it's crazy. That island life is no joke. That's a real like mantra to live by, and I absolutely love and appreciate it. And that's as soon as I go on vacation and visit my family out there, I shake everything that I'm bringing with me on the ferry before I get there, and then I'm like, yeah, man, we're good. This is
you there. Yeah.
Whatever's going on, whatever, we're good. This is
I tell you, it's an amazing, if you have a family and you're kind of done with your, you know, you're not hungry, some hungry artist or chef, or a lot of the people, they start here, they leave, and then they all come back. So It's like you make your dreams come true in New York City or Vancouver or wherever it is that you're going to go, and then they always seem to come back. So I'm hoping me as a early 40s, still young man, you know, having lived in New York City, LA, and all this stuff, and now here, I'm really hoping to just, at this point, just be able to stay here for the rest of my. But I'll tell you, it's really, really hard to build a house here, to get anything done, because the people who build your house or do your plumbing or whatever else, they're the same. They're like, sorry, man, there's a swell. I got to go. I have to surf. I know I said I was going to be there at 3, but I'm not going to be there for a couple of days.
Yeah, that's
because there's waves.
Yeah, no, that's the beauty of chaos, right there. That's I love it. Love it.
Tell me about. I want to talk about one more dish from you. What's a very Hawaiian, let's say pork? Why don't you walk me through like a Hawaiian pork dish?
Well, I haven't made a Kahlua pork yet with with how they do it, so I can't actually I don't know that recipe myself. Sure. I will say, like, if I was going to attempt to do a Kahlua pork, salt, pepper, they use all the fat, and I think, I would try to add some sort of citrus to it to, like, if I do a Carolina, I usually do like a Carolina vinegar, apple cider vinegar, white onion style pulled pork, right? So I guess I would go sort of that route minus the vinegar, add a citrus instead, and kind of see. I am hoping that some of my friends give me the secret. There's some flavor. I don't know what it is. I don't know how they do it. I'm hoping maybe some of my Hawaiian buddies are watching right now. They can give me, once they see that I have the need for this recipe, they will scratch that itch and give it to me.
And not just the need, but the desire for it too.
Yes. I mean, look, this place, ultimately, this place is all about respect, right? And and like respecting the land and respecting the people, and we truly are just kind of visitors here. This is their people. This is their kingdom, and it extends to the food. So, I like to fish. I like to spear fish. I don't go spear fishing until I'm invited somewhere buy a Hawaiian until I'm given the permission to go. I don't want to be the guy who's just like going to come take. And I think that kind of goes with food too. So, when they feel like I deserve to get the recipe for a really good Kahlua pork, I bet I'll get it, and then I'll have to ask for permission to give it to you guys, and then we'll go from there.
That's awesome that you brought that up, brother. So one thing that I do know about Hawaii, I'm a huge fan of aquarium fish. I used to have a big reef tank and the whole 9 yards. My cousin, this sweetheart, she is a cave diver in Mexico. She teaches cave diving in
the cenotes,
and she knows all about Hawaii and the Hawaiian government and fish conservation. And when she came to Edmonton and she saw my reef tank, she's like, that's a no-go, that's a no-go, that's a no-go. I don't know who you're dealing with. You got some freaky friends, but you can't have, like, and right away she was like on me about, which was amazing for me and gave me such an appreciation for how much Hawaii is doing for all of those small things. They are really reaching out literally into their oceans to lock down what they have and how it's supposed to be. And I have such appreciation for that, man. That's huge. And that's really cool.
All about respect here really is, and they, you could have, if you could be Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, by some huge stretch of beach here, and Hawaiians are still going to be able to fish on.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's.
Yeah, and just listening to Zach talk about it, it does give you that appreciation for, respecting what you have, because when you're on an island like that in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you realize how finite your resources are.
Well, I thought you were going to say Wi-Fi.
Well, Wi-Fi too. But you have to realize how finite your resources are, so you're not going to be wasteful. You're not going to be taking more than you need or more than you want, because it's obvious of this is what you have.
Yeah.
Don't take it for granted. Whereas sometimes especially you and I, where we're so landlocked, that we can kind of, lose sight of that sometimes. And that's really kind of a cool perspective, which kind of can maybe sum up some of that island lifestyle where, if it's there, you take it. If they see the waves, they take the waves.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it. I had an instant appreciation when my cousin ripped into me about these saltwater fish and whatever, and how they're on it now. It used to be free, open enterprise, and now they're like, no. When we go fishing, we want these fish here. You can't have them anymore. Like, we're done.
No more grabbing or Nemo off the reef. And
it's super cool to have a government that's just like, no, we're in this for us, and this is all for us.
Right.
After that, any surplus, maybe, but very cool. Very cool.
Hey, now that Zach's trying to reconnect to us, let's maybe give a shout out to people to remind them that you can find us on Apple Podcast. If you search After the Cook Podcast, you can find us. Go on there, subscribe to this so you can listen to us on your way to work. You can catch back up on us. Give us that 5-star rating, because you love us.
Yes.
Yeah, just do that. You can find us also on Amazon Podcasts. I think there's a couple of other ones too. So go out there, subscribe, rate us, and bring us with you. We'd like to get this growing. Also, if there's a topic you want us to talk about, like if you want us to come in and say, hey, let's have a show devoted just to brisket or just to a certain topic. If there is someone you want us to bring on, let us know. We're currently opening up our schedule and looking for people to bring on. Let us know what you guys want from us, and we'd be more than happy to get out there and kind of explore some of these other shows or themes that we can bring to you.
Zach has said, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. He has had a wonderful time. His neighbors actually took out his internet. He has had a very good time, and that's the end of that. So,
legit what happened. The neighbor with the jackhammer took out his internet.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, Zach Knighton from Hawaii. Fantastic.
I'll toss in a little plug for him. It was actually going to be my next question for him was to plug his show.
Yes.
You guys can catch him on the new edition of Magnum P.I, which is going to be on its 3rd season. If you watched it from his Instagram, again, his wife looks like she was actually going to make an appearance on the show too, so you could catch his wife Betsy on there. But check Zach out. Great guy. Great to talk to him about his perspective about everything. But if you tune in to Magnum P.I, he is Rick. Check it out.
Yeah, great actor, man. He's fantastic. Super nice guy, right? We hit it off just with the big green eggs and stuff, and super humble. And how do you argue with that island time, right? Like that's absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
And
that was a great guest. That was
fantastic.
Yep.
Great to have him on. Great to pick his brain, and nice to get someone outside of maybe our circle who's focused on the grilling so much, but to get like an actor like that who happens to also grill.
Exactly. That's I was happy to have him on because it's outside of our realm a little bit.
Right.
Which is nice. That's what we need to do is expand into other areas of things. Very informative, and I had a fun time here. So that was good.
It was awesome. So again, you guys have ideas of guests that we should try to bring on, topics, themes. If you want a whole show devoted to a certain topic, let us know. Drop us a line. Send us either one of us a DM or a DM to the at After the Cook on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. Find us on your podcast. Mel, tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Will you or will you not be Irish tomorrow?
I'm going to do some stuff. I might make a stew.
Okay.
I feel stewish.
An Irish stew, perhaps.
Yeah, I might do a stew, and I'm for sure waking up to a shot of the old Jamesons. So anybody that's with me, get on Instagram in the morning. I want to see you with a shot of Jamesons for breakfast. That's what I want to see. So do that. It's Jameson's St. Paddy's Day. We're celebrating the riddance of the snakes from the Big Island. Is that it? Or the only island of Ireland? That's, yeah.
So maybe
no Guinness for me. I don't like the milk beer. It freaks me out. I can't do it.
Celebrate St. Patrick's Day by watching Boondock Saints.
There you go.
We're all Irish today.
We're all Irish today. It's a really weird thing for me because I know a lot of Irish, and St. Paddy's Day is not what you think it is to them.
No.
And that's the thing. It's literally all for us. It's not for them at all. So
my in-laws went to Ireland with a church group, and they happened to be there over St. Patrick's Day, and they're like, yeah, it was super chill. Like, it was actually something where people observed the day. They had off. And like Milwaukee, people take off because our Irish pubs are open at 7 a.m. Like I worked night shift one day, and I got done working, and we went to the Irish pub at 7:30 in the morning, and we're doing Irish car bombs. It was crazy. That's what we do. Oh, there's a day. It's a holiday. Somebody's celebrating something. It's time to get drunk.
That's it. Time to get drunk.
Yes.
That's what the wife said. She's like, because I have to stay home with the kids because they're not feeling well, right? Let me say that again. I have to stay home with the kids because they're not feeling well, which means that I will have a green Tomahawk for breakfast and Jameson and, all of that shenanigans, right? Yeah.
So no Lisa, just Mel all day.
Just Mel all day. And there's a small chance there's a small chance that the smoker might be breaking free of the paint shop too. So I might have to go and pick the smoker up, which is everything is coming together, man, so quick. It's fantastic. We're so happy. But
just don't leave the baby at the paint shop.
Well, this is the thing, right? So Lisa, the first thing Lisa says to me, please don't be watching the movie The Leprechaun when I come home. That's all I can think is my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter. I'm the leprechaun. Oh, it's because she's, you know what I mean? Kids these days, they don't even see horror movies the way we used to. I used to get really scared from stuff that she like laughs at. So would the Leprechaun be a comedy now?
Probably not for her.
Here we go. So Madwood, here's the thing about this. Thank you very much for your love and support. I really appreciate it. If the American Royal happens, there is a small chance that I might be there even under the big green egg tent. Just so you know. But if the American Royal happens this year, you can bet your farm that Mel will be there in some capacity or another. Whether I be judging, right? KCBS, whatever. We'll figure it out. But if it happens, I'm going 100%. That's Canada's still having a hard time with the vaccines, however, and I don't know how the States is going to be dealing with it. So that's a weird... I can't control that one, but we're waiting to see. Yeah. Yeah, that's the... So how do I make my tomahawk steak green? I don't want to use food coloring.
Pesto?
How do I make my tomahawk steak not taste like crap either?
Chimichurri?
There we go. That's closer. That's closer to work.
Herb crusted. See,
Yes.
so here's the thing with chimmy for me. Okay, if you want it to look green, it would be better if you put the chimichurri in the food processor. It'll emulsify. You can get a nice, even, rich green color.
Yep.
I hate that though.
No, I know. Because of his baby pet.
I hate that. Chimichurri needs to be hand chopped 100%.
I like stems and shit in mine.
Yeah.
I like a rough chop.
Yes.
I actually have like a huge fan base for like garlic that's hand chopped. And I see those knobby bits of garlic in anything I'm dipping or spreading or anything like that. And I see knobby bits of garlic or mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
I have an instant appreciation for what I'm dealing with.
Right.
It's a weird thing, but like I appreciate a hand chop, even in sausages, especially in sausages. People are 2 and 3 times grinding it, and I'm like, one grind, big disc, we're done. I want knobby bits of fat sticking out of the sides of that casing. I don't know why, but I really have an appreciation for thick cut, rough cut.
So
rough grind.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Again, circling back to your green tomahawk, chimney would work. You could almost make a really thick herb butter that you could coat the tomahawk in.
Yep.
You'll lose some of that greenness as it cooks, but you could maybe make the herb butter before you cook it, top it with the chimney afterwards.
If I put food coloring in the butter, I might not feel so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or I'll just cook the tomahawk and go, I'm the leprechaun. And then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
That would work too.
Yeah. Oh, Danny boy. Yeah. I could do that too. Yeah, I guess. I'll just sing Danny Boy while I cook the Tomahawk, and everything will be fine.
There you go. You got options.
Yeah, that's it. Well, buddy, how you doing? You good?
I'm doing well. I'm getting ready for this weekend. Going over to my buddy Smokin' Ty's house. We've been together for the tournament every year since 2003, since college for me, or freshman year of college for me, his sophomore year. Last year we didn't because it got canceled the week before. So we'll be at his house. Him and I will be grilling up his big green egg. Probably fire up his cotton gin a little bit. Maybe even the Blackstone. We'll be cooking, drinking, watching hoops. It's going to be epic. So
I hope you have just a barn burner, buddy.
Oh,
I hope it's a blast.
Yeah.
Trust me. Let me tell you, I'm still recovering from my weekend.
I know.
Buddy, I knocked the wheels right off that train. I did. Everything was fantastic.
I'm going down Friday morning. I told my wife I'll come home Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Full sender every which way you can and have a blast. Because you know what, man? We've done this for a year. We've been responsible. We've been very care-minded, right? Just be safe with what you're doing, but do it. Do it big.
We'll be in his basement. Both of us are vaccinated. We're good to go.
Oh, that's it, man. That's no joke. I'm sitting there in a family restaurant. I didn't know that the steak joint they were taking me to was like a family restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got Jaeger bombs, like a steady stream of them coming to the table. And she's trying to serve potatoes and stuff, and all kinds of things are happening. And people are like, not rude or anything, but obnoxious. People are obnoxious at the table because they're not supposed to be in a family dining atmosphere. They're supposed to be in a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know quite what was happening or what we were doing or whatever. So I ate my 20-ounce steak, and then I got right out of there because I didn't want to get kicked out of the steakhouse my first night out. So I didn't want to be that guy, but quite easily could happen.
Oh.
So don't be that guy, Chris.
Well, what a great night. Sounds like this weekend you'll have a date with your big rig.
Yes.
Doing something.
Yes.
And bringing that together. Do you have any big plans you want to talk about now, or will we just look back at it next week?
If I get my stick burner back this week, you will see a fantastic brisket and pulled pork cook go down this weekend.
Beautiful.
100%. And then probably every weekend until my first gig.
Good. And then, that'll give us something to talk about. Talk about breaking in a new smoker, especially one like that where you have to find hot spots, and we can talk about different tricks. I don't know. Do you do the bread trick where you might put the pieces of bread on the grates?
Oh, I got my shenanigans. Yeah, I'm going to do all kinds of sensor testing, food items to see what I'm doing. But
I don't want to give that away too much now, so maybe that's something we'll circle back to once you do it, and we can chat about that too.
100%. And if there's any locals on right now, January, February, March, April 17th is Mel's first gig in the city. Make sure you have it free because there's something happening in Edmonton, Alberta, April 17th.
Put it on your calendars. Mark it down.
Get it done. You're probably going to want to bring the girlfriend and the mistress to this one because it's going to be good.
It's that kind of party.
It's going to be a big one. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. I'm super pumped, man. Super pumped.
Well, with that, I think it's been a hell of a Tuesday.
Done deal.
Hell of a show. Thank you to our guest, Zach Knighton, for hanging out with us.
Amazing.
He wishes he could be here to say goodbye, but his neighbor jackhammered through his Wi-Fi. Can't make that up. So check us out on Apple Podcast. You can come back. You can listen to us. If you have those ideas for us, shoot us a text messages. Thank you for listening. Mel, great as always, my friend.
Awesome, brother. Everything beautiful. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you rate us on whatever medium you find us on and be nice about it.
Yes.
Don't be jerks.
5 stars.
We came here for you. No, you come here for us. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, guys. Take care. Be well.